The Wedding Switch, a sweet African-American romance short story, written by Imani Price, narrated by Shatrice Williams and Michael Evans. Chapter 1. The moment I stepped into the grand ballroom of the Crescent Palms Resort, I knew I'd made a mistake. I should have never agreed to be Nia's last-minute maid of honor for her sister after her sister's best friend got sick. Next in line would have been Nia, but she had a fear of crowds and begged me to take her place. Sure, I looked stunning, if I did say so myself. My soft lavender bridesmaid dress draped like liquid silk, hugging my curves in all the right places. My intricate braids were pinned up, a few delicate curls framing my face the way I liked. But no amount of elegance could have prepared me for the moment my past walked right back into my life. And by my past, I mean Omari Wright. The best man. My ex, the man I hadn't seen in 3 years. The one who had shattered my heart and walked away like it was nothing. He stood across the room, laughing with the groom, his deep brown skin glowing under the chandelier lights, a navy blue suit tailored to perfection. That same confident stance, hands clasped in front of him, a knowing smirk tugging at his lips as if he already owned the room. My stomach clenched. Why didn't Nia tell me Omari was the best man? I know that look. Nia's voice was way too smug as she appeared beside me. You're plotting your escape, aren't you? Absolutely. She grabbed my wrist before I could make a run for it. Nope, you promised me you'd be the maid of honor, and you're not leaving me to suffer through this alone. I can suffer from the safety of my hotel room. No, you can't. Nia, Jakayla, it's been 3 years. Are you really going to let Omari ruin this wedding for you? I swallowed hard. No, I wasn't. I was better than that. Stronger. I had moved on. Or at least that's what I told myself as Omari's gaze finally met mine. And just like that, I was back where I swore I'd never be, caught in his gravitational pull.
Chapter 2. I had 10 seconds to prepare myself before Jakayla Carter stole my breath. I was mid-laugh, trading jokes with the groom when I turned, and there she was, a vision in lavender, her skin glowing like warm honey, those braids styled to perfection. She was elegance and fire, wrapped in a dress that left just enough to the imagination, and she was looking at me like she wanted to disappear. Yeah, I deserved that. I took a slow sip of my drink, trying to ignore the way my pulse kicked up a notch. Jakayla and I hadn't spoken since I let her go. And I'd convinced myself that was the right choice, that I'd done what was best. But seeing her now, I wasn't so sure anymore. The tension between us was thick enough to slice with a butter knife. And when Nia whispered something to her that made her roll her eyes, I caught the little shake of her head, the kind she used to give me when I annoyed her on purpose. I smirked. Some things never changed. The bride-to-be's voice rang out over the chatter. Bridal party, gather up for introductions. Perfect. Now I'd be spending the next 2 days stuck beside Jakayla, pretending like there wasn't a history of late-night arguments, stolen kisses, and a love that burned too hot to last. She lifted her chin, squared her shoulders, and strode toward me like she had nothing to prove. Too bad I knew better.
Chapter 3. I could do this. That was the lie I told myself as I walked toward Omari, my heels clicking against the polished marble floor. Hey, he said, his voice smoother than I remembered. Omari. I kept my tone even, ignoring the way my heart flipped at the way he was looking at me, like I was the only thing in the room worth noticing. The wedding coordinator clapped her hands. All right, everyone, let's pair up. Best man and maid of honor first. Of course. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, my fingers barely grazing Omari's arm as we positioned ourselves for the procession rehearsal. His scent, clean, crisp, and familiar, wrapped around me, making it harder to keep my emotions in check. You look good, Jakayla, he murmured just low enough for only me to hear. I turned my head slightly, arching a brow. Don't start, he chuckled, but there was something softer in his expression. I'm just saying what's true. I didn't reply. Couldn't, because part of me wanted to believe him. The music started, and we took our first step forward together, just like we had years ago. But this time, there was no future waiting for us at the end of the aisle. Only memories.
Chapter 4. She was avoiding me. I could see it in the way she kept her eyes forward, in the way her fingers barely grazed mine as we rehearsed the walk. The Jakayla I knew wasn't this restrained. She felt everything deeply, loved deeply, And once upon a time, I'd been on the receiving end of that love. Now, I wasn't sure I even deserved her glance. "All right, that's it for rehearsal," the wedding coordinator announced. "Tomorrow, same time, same lineup. Let's make this wedding seamless, people." Jakayla dropped my arm like I burned her and turned on her heel. Before I could second-guess myself, I reached for her wrist. "Jakayla," she stilled, inhaling sharply before turning to face me. "What?" I hesitated, unsure how to say everything I needed to in a single moment. "It's been a long time." She arched a brow. "That's what you want to say to me?" I let out a slow breath, tightening my grip just slightly. "No, but it's all I can say right now." Her expression softened for half a second before the walls came back up. "Then maybe you shouldn't say anything at all." She pulled away, disappearing into the crowd of bridesmaids and groomsmen, and I was left standing there, watching her walk away. Again.
Chapter 5. The nerve of that man. I stormed through the reception hall, my pulse hammering in my ears. Omari had a way of getting under my skin like no one else. 3 years. 3 whole years of silence, and now he wanted to act like time hadn't changed anything? I needed air. Stepping onto the balcony, I inhaled the crisp night breeze, letting it cool the heat rising in my chest. The wedding lights twinkled in the distance, casting everything in a golden glow. This should have been a peaceful moment, but all I could think about was Omari's hand on my wrist, his voice low, familiar, and frustratingly gentle. Running away already? I closed my eyes. Of course, he'd followed me. "Go away, Omari." "I can't do that." His voice was closer now, laced with something I couldn't quite place. "Not again." I turned to face him, arms crossed. "What do you want from me?" He exhaled, running a hand over his jaw. A conversation, a chance to explain. I let out a bitter laugh. "You had 3 years for that." His gaze held mine, and I regretted every second of them.
Chapter 6. Jakayla's laugh was sharp, not the warm sound I used to love. "You regretted every second," she repeated, arms folded, eyes locked onto me like a challenge. "Funny, Omari, because you didn't seem all that regretful when you walked away." I ran a hand down my face, letting out a slow breath. I thought I was doing the right thing. Her eyes flashed. For who? Because it sure as hell wasn't for me. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "I wasn't in the right place back then, Jakayla. I was struggling, trying to get my career together, trying to prove something to myself." She scoffed. "And instead of talking to me, instead of letting me be there for you, you just left?" I swallowed hard. "I didn't want to drag you into my mess." "You were my mess, Omari," she shot back, voice laced with emotion. "I wanted you, flaws and all, but you didn't give me a choice." The hurt in her voice hit me like a punch to the gut. "I know," I admitted, taking another step closer. "And I regret it, every day." Her breath hitched slightly, and for the first time I saw the cracks in the armor she had built between us. But just as quickly she masked it, straightening her shoulders. "I don't know what you expect me to say," she whispered, shaking her head. "It's been 3 years, Omari. I moved on." I searched her eyes, my heartbeat steady and sure. "Have you?" A beat of silence stretched between us, heavy and charged. The answer hung in the air, unspoken, but I saw it. In the way her gaze flickered, in the way her lips parted, like she wanted to argue, but couldn't. Then she turned away. "This conversation is over," she murmured, her voice quieter now, less certain. I watched her go, watched the sway of her dress as she disappeared back inside. And for the first time in years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I wasn't letting her walk away again.
Chapter 7. I barely slept that night. Even after I shut my hotel room door, even after I slid under the covers and willed myself to forget the way Omari had looked at me, I was restless. His words looped through my mind on an endless reel. "Have you?" I hated that he had the audacity to ask. Hated that, deep down, I didn't have an answer I was proud of. The next morning, I kept my head high as I joined the bridal party for breakfast in the hotel's garden lounge. The sun cast a golden glow over the table, laughter filling the air as everyone sipped mimosas and gushed over the upcoming ceremony. I was just starting to relax when I felt him before I saw him. Omari slid into the empty chair beside me like he belonged there. "Morning," he murmured, voice low, just for me. I lifted my coffee cup, not bothering to look at him. "Didn't see your name on this seat." "I figured it was implied," he said, the hint of a smirk in his voice. "You know, considering we're walking down the aisle together today. I finally turned to him, leveling him with a glare. That doesn't mean I want to sit next to you at breakfast. Too bad. I'm not going anywhere. His confidence was infuriating. The worst part, a tiny traitorous part of me liked it. Before I could respond, the bride Bianca clinked her glass for attention. Okay, bridal party. We have a big day ahead of us, so let's eat up and head to our rooms to get ready. As everyone shuffled to their feet, Omari leaned in close, his breath warm against my ear. We're not done talking, Jakayla. I exhaled sharply, gathering my dress as I stood. Yes, we are. But as I walked away, I knew deep down I was lying to both of us.
Chapter 8. I wasn't ready to give up. Jakayla might have walked away last night, but the way she looked at me, the hesitation, the flicker of something real in her eyes, told me she wasn't as unaffected as she wanted me to believe. That was enough to keep me pushing forward. Morning, I said, letting my voice drop just low enough for only her to hear. She lifted her coffee cup, staring straight ahead. Didn't see your name on this seat. I smirked. Figured it was implied, since we're practically attached at this wedding. She finally turned to me, her glare sharp. That doesn't mean I want to sit next to you. Too bad. I leaned in slightly. I'm not going anywhere. A muscle in her jaw ticked, but I saw the way her fingers tightened around her coffee mug. She was holding on, trying to keep herself steady. Bianca clinked her glass. All right, bridal party. Time to get ready. Let's make this wedding flawless. Jakayla exhaled sharply as she stood. I reached out, catching her wrist before she could go. We're not done, Jakayla, I murmured. She swallowed hard but didn't pull away. Yes, we are. I watched her go, knowing damn well we weren't.
Chapter 9. The bridal suite was a whirlwind of silk, lace, and laughter, but I barely heard any of it. I sat in front of the vanity mirror, pretending to focus on Bianca's makeup artist applying the finishing touches to my lips while my mind raced. Omari was relentless. His words from breakfast replayed in my head. We're not done. He wasn't wrong. I wasn't done feeling something for him, no matter how much I wanted to be. You okay? Nia's voice pulled me from my thoughts. She was adjusting the bride's veil, but her gaze met mine in the mirror. Yeah, I lied, forcing a smile. Just thinking about how much my feet are going to hate me after wearing these heels all night. She didn't buy it. You sure it's not a certain best man occupying that overthinking brain of yours? I rolled my eyes. Not even a little. Lies, she sang before turning her attention back to Bianca. I sighed, checking my reflection. My lavender dress fit like a dream. My intricate braids were pinned in place, and my makeup was flawless. I looked calm. I looked in control. So why did I feel like my heart was on the verge of betrayal? A knock on the door snapped me from my thoughts. 5 minutes, ladies, the wedding coordinator called. It was time. I grabbed my bouquet, took a deep breath, and walked out with the bridal party, ready to face the aisle and Omari.
Chapter 10. I stood at the altar, hands clasped in front of me, but my attention wasn't on the groom. It was on the moment Jakayla stepped into view. Breathtaking, didn't even begin to cover it. Her lavender dress hugged her in all the right places, but it was more than that. It was the way she carried herself, like she was unshaken, unbothered. Too bad I knew better. She avoided my gaze as she walked toward me, linking arms when it was time. The touch sent something electric through me, but she gave no sign she felt it too. The music started, and we took slow, measured steps together. A thought hit me then, one I couldn't ignore. 3 years ago, I made the mistake of walking away from her. Today, I wasn't making that mistake again.
Chapter 11. The ceremony was beautiful, the vows heartfelt, the setting magical. But all I could feel was the weight of Omari beside me, a presence that was impossible to ignore. Every time I stole a glance, he was already looking at me. Every time our arms brushed, my pulse skipped a beat. And when the couple sealed their love with a kiss, the whole room erupted in cheers. But all I felt was the unspoken tension thickening between Omari and me. As the guests funneled toward the reception hall, I slipped outside for air, my heart pounding harder than it should have been. The sun had started to set, casting a golden glow over the manicured gardens. I inhaled deeply, closing my eyes for just a moment. Didn't peg you as the type to sneak out of weddings, Omari's deep voice broke through the quiet. I exhaled sharply. Not sneaking, just needed air. He stepped closer, his cologne wrapping around me like a memory. Funny, I needed a moment too. Silence stretched between us, thick and charged. I meant what I said, Jakayla, he murmured, his voice softer now. I regret walking away. I regret all of it. I turned to face him, searching his eyes. And what exactly do you expect me to do with that, Omari? Just forget everything? No, he said without hesitation. I don't expect you to forget, but I want the chance to make it right. I swallowed, my throat tight. And if I'm not willing to give you that chance? His lips twitched in the ghost of a smile. Then I'll spend however long it takes proving that you should. My heart clenched, torn between past hurt and the undeniable pull between us. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sure which side was winning.
Chapter 12. I could see the battle playing out in her eyes. The part of her that wanted to protect herself, and the part that still remembered what we used to be. I wasn't going to let her run from this. Not again. You don't have to give me an answer tonight, I said, my voice calm, steady. I just need you to know that I mean it. She crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. And what does proving it even look like, Omari? You showing up at my door with flowers? A grand romantic speech, I smiled. If that's what it takes. She sighed, shaking her head. You think it's that easy? No, I admitted. I think it's worth the effort. Something flickered in her gaze, hesitation, hope, fear, all tangled together. I don't know if I can trust you with my heart again. The honesty in her voice hit me hard. I stepped closer, giving her the space to pull away if she wanted. She didn't. I know I don't deserve an easy way back in, I murmured. But I'm here, Jakayla, and I'm not going anywhere this time. The air between us thickened, charged with something unspoken. She swallowed hard, her lips parting like she wanted to say something, but instead she looked away. I should go inside, she whispered. I nodded. Okay. But as she turned, I reached for her hand, letting my fingers graze hers just enough to make her stop. If you change your mind, I said softly, I'll be waiting. She hesitated just for a second, and then she walked away, disappearing back inside the reception hall. I let out a slow breath, watching the door she'd just walked through. I wasn't giving up, not by a long shot.
Chapter 13. I barely made it inside before my legs felt unsteady beneath me. The music was lively, the dance floor full, but my mind was somewhere else. Somewhere outside, where Omari stood waiting. I should have left him there. Left him in the past, where he belonged. But instead, I found myself stealing glances toward the doors, wondering if he was still standing there, if he meant every word he said. Girl, you're distracted, Naya teased, bumping her hip against mine. That man got you all twisted. I let out a breathy laugh, shaking my head. I don't know what I'm doing, she grinned. Maybe it's time to stop thinking and just feel. Her words settled deep in my chest, and suddenly, the idea of walking away from Omari didn't seem so easy anymore.
Chapter 14. I wasn't the type to wait around for things to happen. I built my life by taking action, making choices, and moving forward. But right now, standing at the edge of the reception hall, watching Jakayla across the room, I knew this was different. This wasn't something I could force. She had to come to me. Still, I wasn't going to make it easy for her to ignore me either. When the DJ switched to a slow song, I saw my opportunity. Couples gravitated toward the dance floor, arms wrapping around each other, laughter and soft murmurs filling the space between melodies. Jakayla stood near the bar, twirling the stem of her champagne flute between her fingers, pretending to be lost in conversation with Nia. But I saw the way she kept stealing glances toward the door. Toward me. I made my way through the crowd, my heart beating steadily as I approached her. The moment she noticed me, she straightened, her fingers tightening around her glass. Dance with me. Her lips parted slightly. Omari, no thinking, no questions. I extended my hand. Just one dance. She hesitated, her gaze searching mine for something. Maybe reassurance, maybe a reason to say no. But in the end, she put her hand in mine. I pulled her onto the dance floor, my palms settling at the small of her back as I guided her into the slow rhythm of the music. Her body was stiff at first, cautious, but as the song swayed around us, she let out a breath, and I felt the shift. She relaxed into me, just enough. You used to love dancing with me, I murmured, my lips near her ear. She tilted her head slightly, a small smile playing on her lips. I used to love a lot of things. I tightened my hold on her, not missing the way her fingers flexed against my shoulder. Maybe some things don't have to change. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time since we'd seen each other again, I saw it, the part of her that still wanted this, still wanted me. The song ended, but neither of us moved. "Omari," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the applause for the next song. "I don't know what this means." I lifted a hand, brushing a loose curl from her cheek. "It doesn't have to mean anything tonight." She exhaled shakily, like she was balancing on the edge of something uncertain. I smiled. "Just don't walk away this time." She nodded, her fingers tightening in mine. "Okay." And just like that I knew this wasn't over, not even close.
Chapter 15. I should have left. I should have gone back to my hotel room, taken off my heels, and put as much distance as possible between myself and Omari Wright. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself outside, standing near the glowing garden lights, the air thick with the scent of roses and warm summer breezes. The reception buzzed behind me, music and laughter spilling into the night. But I needed space. Space to think, to breathe, to make sense of what had just happened between us on that dance floor. A door clicked shut, followed by footsteps. I didn't have to turn around to know who it was. "Figured you'd run." Omari's voice was low, but steady. I let out a breathy laugh, shaking my head. "I don't run." He stepped beside me, hands tucked into his pockets. "You used to, when we'd argue. You'd storm out, sit in your car, and blast music until you calmed down." I glanced at him. "You remember that?" He smirked. "I remember everything." Silence stretched between us, the weight of history pressing down like an invisible force. "I don't know if I can do this again, Omari." My voice was barely above a whisper. He turned fully toward me. "Why not?" "Because I don't know how to trust that you won't leave again." Omari's jaw tightened, his eyes filled with something raw and unguarded. "I won't." "You say that now. I know that now." His voice was firm, certain. "I was stupid, Jakayla. I thought I was doing the right thing by walking away, but all I did was leave behind the best thing that ever happened to me." I swallowed hard. "And what if I'm not willing to risk it?" His gaze softened, and he took a careful step closer. "Then I'll wait." The way he looked at me, the quiet promise in his voice, it was undoing me. I wanted to believe him, wanted to take the leap, but my heart was still cautious, still scarred from the past. But I also knew this. Omari wasn't the same man who left me 3 years ago. And maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the same woman who would let fear hold her back. I released a slow breath, meeting his gaze. "I need time." His lips curved slightly, as if he already knew that would be my answer. "Take all the time you need." And for the first time that night, I wasn't afraid to believe him.
Chapter 16. Patience wasn't my strongest trait, but for Jakayla, I'd learn. The wedding reception was winding down, the music softening as couples stole final dances under the twinkling lights. I stood near the bar, watching as Jakayla laughed at something Nia said, her face finally free of the tension that had been there all night. She was still uncertain about us, but there was no denying something had shifted. The walls between us weren't so impenetrable anymore. As the bride and groom made their exit, the remaining guests started to say their goodbyes. I knew this was my last chance to get Jakayla alone before the night ended. I walked up as she grabbed her clutch from the table. "Jakayla," she turned, her expression guarded but softer than before. "Can I walk you to your room?" Her lips parted as if she was about to refuse, but then she exhaled and nodded. "Okay." We walked in silence through the dimly lit hallways of the resort, the quiet between us surprisingly comfortable. When we reached her door, she turned to me, searching my face as if she was trying to decide something. Before she could speak, I reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. No expectations, no pressure, just good night. She hesitated, then squeezed back. "Good night, Omari." I released her hand, stepping back as she unlocked her door. But just before disappearing inside, she glanced over her shoulder, her voice soft. "I'll call you." A slow smile spread across my lips. I wasn't sure if she would, but for the first time in a long time, I had hope. And that was enough for now.
Chapter 17. I didn't call him. Not the next morning. Not the day after that. Not for an entire week. It wasn't because I didn't want to. I thought about it, constantly. His voice, the weight of his promises, the way his hand felt when it covered mine. But I needed time. Time to figure out if I could trust him again. Time to figure out if I could trust myself not to fall so hard that I shattered all over again. But time didn't make my feelings disappear. If anything, the space between us only made me more aware of the ache in my chest whenever I thought about him. By the time I finally picked up my phone, my fingers hovered over his number, nerves buzzing beneath my skin. What if he had changed his mind? What if the Omari who had been so determined at the wedding had already moved on? I pushed the doubts aside and pressed call. He answered on the second ring. Jakayla. His voice was steady, like he'd been expecting my call. I swallowed hard. Hey, a beat of silence. Not uncomfortable, just full of something unspoken. You took your time, he said, amusement laced in his tone. I needed to. I know. Another pause. This time I was the one who broke it. Are you free tonight? His response was instant. For you? Always. I exhaled, releasing the tension that had been sitting in my chest all week. There's this cafe near my place. 8 o'clock? I'll be there. I didn't know what this was yet. I didn't know if we were rewriting our story or just flipping back to an old chapter. But for the first time in a long time, I was willing to find out. And that was enough.
Chapter 18. I arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early. It wasn't nerves. I knew what I wanted. It was patience. A quiet moment to collect my thoughts before I saw Jakayla again. The cafe was warm and intimate. A string of golden lights lining the windows, soft jazz playing from the speakers. I chose a table by the window, giving myself the perfect view of the entrance. When she finally walked in, I felt it in my chest. She scanned the room, her gaze landing on me almost instantly. There was a hesitation, a moment where I saw the war playing out inside her, but then she exhaled and made her way toward me. She was stunning. Hair in soft waves tonight, a simple navy dress that hugged her curves just right. But it wasn't just how she looked. It was the fact that she was here, that she had chosen to see what this could be. Hey, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. Hey. A server appeared almost immediately, offering menus, but neither of us looked at them. Jakayla smirked. You don't even need to check, do you? You still drink the same? I leaned back, amused. Caramel latte, extra shot, she nodded. Some things never change. I tilted my head. And you? Still a vanilla chai kind of woman? Of course. A small, easy silence settled between us. For the first time in days, I felt the tension crack just a little. So, she started, tracing the rim of her water glass. We're doing this. I leaned forward, resting my arms on the table. Yeah, we are. She let out a quiet laugh, shaking her head. Omari, this is insane. What? Sitting across from me at a cafe? No. Her gaze met mine, something vulnerable flashing across her face. Letting you back in. I didn't hesitate. Then don't let me back in. Her brows lifted slightly. I reached for my coffee cup, taking a slow sip before meeting her gaze again. Start fresh. No past mistakes, no regrets hanging over us. Just two people who have history and maybe a future. She studied me for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. Okay, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Let's start fresh. And just like that, something shifted between us. A new beginning.
Chapter 19. A week ago, if someone had told me I'd be sitting across from Omari Wright talking about starting fresh, I would have laughed. Yet here we were. It was different from before. Less weighty, less burdened by the ghosts of what we used to be. We talked about small things. Movies we'd seen recently, places we wanted to travel, how I'd finally started taking yoga classes like I always said I would. And Omari listened. Really listened. Not just nodding along, but asking questions, teasing me when I admitted I was terrible at downward dog, smiling like he actually enjoyed every moment of this conversation. It felt easy. That scared me more than anything. As we walked out of the cafe together, the night air cool against my skin, I hesitated before speaking. This feels weird. He glanced at me. Weird how? Like it shouldn't be this easy, I admitted. Like I should still be angry. He stopped walking, turning toward me. Do you want to be? I opened my mouth, but no words came, because the truth was I didn't. The anger, the hurt, it was still there, buried deep, but it wasn't what I felt when I looked at him now. Omari stepped closer, watching me carefully. Jakayla, I know I hurt you. I won't ask you to forget that, but I do want you to believe that I'm here. I'm not running this time. My heart clenched. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to let myself believe that people could change, that second chances could be real. Maybe I already did. I took a slow breath. Okay. His eyes searched mine. Okay? I nodded. Let's see where this goes. The relief on his face was immediate, his smile soft and genuine. I can work with that. As we stood there on the sidewalk, the city humming around us, I realized something. Maybe this wasn't about rewriting the past. Maybe this was about writing something new, together.
Chapter 20. Some stories don't need an ending. Some stories just need a beginning. I walked Jakayla to her car, hands tucked in my pockets, my chest light in a way I hadn't felt in years. She turned before getting in, her lips twitching. Don't get cocky. This is just a trial run. I grinned. I like my chances. She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling, and that was enough. But then, instead of opening the door, she hesitated. Jakayla? I asked, stepping closer. She let out a slow breath, then looked up at me, something soft and open in her eyes. You really aren't running this time? I shook my head. Never again. A beat of silence stretched between us, filled only by the hum of the city, the distant laughter of late-night cafe-goers. Then, she did something I didn't expect. She took a step forward, closing the space between us, and placed her hands on my chest. And before I could even think, before I could ruin the moment by asking a single question, she kissed me. It was soft at first, hesitant, like she was testing the weight of her own decision. But then she melted into me, her fingers curling into the fabric of my shirt, and I was gone. Completely and utterly gone for this woman. When she pulled back, her eyes searched mine, her breathing unsteady. Just so we're clear, she murmured, her lips still inches from mine. This is me giving us a real shot. I cupped her face, brushing my thumb over her cheek, memorizing every second of this moment. Then I guess this is me promising you'll never regret it. She smiled, bright, breathtaking, and so full of hope that I knew without a doubt this was it. Not the end, not the past, but the beginning of something real. And this time, I wasn't letting go.
This concludes The Wedding Switch, an African-American sweet romance short story written by Imani Price, narrated by Shatrice Williams and Michael Evans. Thank you so much for listening. To keep up with Imani's upcoming books, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and join her mailing list at imaniprice.com.